Real quick, before we continue with the episode, I want to let you know that if you're a creative person who wants to share your creative gift or whatever you're passionate about with other people and create an online community, a podcast is an amazing way to do it. And you can start a podcast today with Anchor by Spotify. It's such an easy way to make a podcast. Trust me. I'm not a tech person and I did it. So if I can do it, honey, you can too, okay? Anchor has tools to allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. And you can host on Anchor and it will distribute your podcast to platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. So you don't have to worry about, uploading your podcast to all these different sites. And it's everything that you need to make a podcast in one place. And it's 100% free. So there you go. Let's go. Start your podcast, create your online community, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, without further ado, let's continue. Welcome to the Creatively by Estelle podcast. I'm your host, Estelle Berry, and I'm so glad that you're here. This show is all about being creative and pursuing your creative passions while you're in medical school or a professional program or grad program of any kind. Okay, you are welcome here. So let's start creating and let's get into this episode. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Creatively by Estelle, our second episode. I'm so excited that you're here and I'm so excited to be recording this. I'm currently recording this from my house in Barbados. I go to medical school in Barbados currently. I'm finishing up my basic sciences before I head back to the States, and I just got here about 3 weeks ago, actually. So it's still pretty new. A lot of adjusting to do that I'm still, getting used to. But I wanted to record this episode because what we're talking about today is something that I'm in the process of really working through in a new environment as I've come to a completely different country, completely different circumstances and everything. And I think that this could maybe relate to someone else. So let's get into it. All right. So for today's episode, we're going to just be talking about making space to create and what does it really mean? Because especially as grad students, as medical students, as a student in general, you're just so busy with everything else that you need to do for school, academically, and you're so focused on, what you're trying to achieve here. Or at least you're trying to make sure that you're focused on that, right? Not always easy, but at the same time, if you know that you're a creative person, you know that you want a creative outlet and you want to keep up with that too, it becomes a challenge to balance that and balance that with everything else, with your spiritual life, with your friendships, with your family, with all your relationships, and with everything else going on in addition to school being a full-time job. So more than full-time job, let's be real, right? So with that being said, making space to create, sometimes it feels like it's so minor and should be at the very bottom of the list. And some days it is, but I don't know. I want to actually do it. I want to make that space for myself to be creative, and I want you to as well. Because if you know in your heart that you're a creative person, if you know that's who you are, that's who you want to be, or maybe you're venturing into that and you're trying to figure out what it is that your creative outlet is, what you're most passionate about creatively and whatnot, you have to make that time sometimes, and you really do have to make it. It's not something that comes up just out of the blue usually. So how do we actually do that, right? Because it's really easy to kind of excuse ourselves because we have so much going on. Trust me, that's literally what I've been doing. I completely understand that. But I think I have some tips that might help, some things that I'm thinking through. I actually wrote about this in one of my blog posts on creativelybyestelle.com/blog. If you want to go to that website, you'll see there's one blog post from April, a couple months ago, and it's titled Three Mindset Shifts for Creatives and Artists. And I think that kind of helps me, like see um, like things that I need to, maybe ways that I need to shift my mindset in thinking about how to make space to create in this time of my life, because it's really a crazy time. It's a busy time. Everything is new for me, everything is different for me, lots of new things going on. So if I want to make space to create, then I really do have to be in the right mindset, you know? So the first thing that I talk about is to refuse to self criticize. And I think that's a really important one, especially for students, because we're always analyzing ourselves, like analyzing our study habits, analyzing, okay, what went wrong there? How can I do better? Okay, what went right? How can I add to that? How can I make that better? How can I reinforce that? So we're constantly examining ourselves, and sometimes that crosses over into self criticism. And we want our creative outlet to be our safe space. Like for me, like when I'm singing, like that is my safe space. That's when I'm like, just, all the other things kind of fall away, and I'm able to just like connect to the art itself, to singing, and I'm able to like think about what I'm doing, but like not too much. And so, but sometimes we can take that over critiquing kind of mindset to our creative outlet, and meanwhile it should be the place where we feel safest. And it's so good. You want to definitely examine yourself. You want to grow in whatever you're doing creatively. Like as a singer, you want to continue to grow, you want to continue to work on your voice, you don't want to hurt yourself. All those things are so important, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're also letting yourself play and explore and enjoy it, because it should be something enjoyable, especially if it's your creative outlet. So refusing to self-criticize and checking yourself when you're being critical of like, okay, I'm starting to do this thing. I'm singing today. I'm just gonna sing this song. I'm working on this song, and like you record yourself, maybe, I know I do, and maybe you're like, okay, that was terrible, right? But instead of, maybe change your mindset and be like, okay, what can we work on? How can we make this better? How can we feel this song more? How can we enjoy this more? Maybe I can choose another song. Maybe I can stick to this and try it in a different key. Like there are so many different things you can do, and, in refusing to self criticize, but instead really enjoying what you're doing, really enjoying that creative act, if that makes sense. Because it's supposed to be your outlet, right? It's supposed to be your time to do something that you're passionate about, that as isn't taking up your day and your mind as much as school is. So it's supposed to be a time for you to be safe, feel safe, and feel um, able to express yourself. So definitely refusing to self-criticize is I think like one of the first things I would say when it comes to like making space for yourself, making that time for you to be creative. You have to not over analyze and overthink what you are doing creatively. And I think that also relates to like just like how you make time too, like how you make time for that creative time. Like, okay, maybe you're not able to do it for this amount of time on this particular day. That's okay. That's okay. There's still tomorrow by God's grace. So that's all right. Just take a breather. You don't have to stress yourself about that, because again, it's supposed to be a safe space. It's supposed to be an enjoyable thing. You don't want to overly critical of yourself because maybe you didn't have as much time as you would have liked. It's a process, and maybe next week, we'll block out the time better. Right? So we can definitely talk about things like that more in the future, like how do we plan out this time to be creative, for sure. But that's the first thing, is like that mindset shift when you're trying to make space to create is, refuse to self criticize. The second thing that I wrote on this blog post was about creating more than you consume. And it's something that's so hard, especially like when it's just so much easier to just consume other people's content, listen to other people's podcasts and music and read other people, what other people have written, other people's posts, things like that, instead of making your own. Trust me, it's definitely hard to make that switch. But it's really important, I think, to just pour into like creating your content, creating what you love, doing what you are enjoying doing creatively, because that way you're really utilizing the little time that you have, to work on what you really enjoy. And that's something that I'm definitely working on all the time. Like, instead of being on TikTok scrolling, how about I make a TikTok? How about I record myself? Let me sing a song that I love, that I'm loving this week, that's been on my heart, that I keep coming back to, and let me work on that for a little bit instead. So that's a mindset shift that I'm working on, and I invite you to work on that with me, right? Creating more than you consume. Obviously, there's no exact ratio or formula, etc., but you can try to figure that out, for yourself, how you want to do that. Maybe you, instead of spending like 10 minutes scrolling, you're going to spend 5 minutes scrolling, 5 minutes making something that you're going to post or something. I don't know. Whatever it is for you, yeah, you can make that boundary for yourself. But I think I'm definitely something I want to work on, something I'm in the process of working on. It's okay, I'm opening up TikTok, I'm opening up Instagram. Let me create something that'll be um, something that will, that I'll enjoy making and that I'll love making, and will, be a blessing to other people, rather than, just scrolling through for however many minutes. So that's something, a mindset shift that I'm trying to make for sure. So if you agree with me, let's go. All right. So creating more than you consume is the second mindset shift. That's really important when it comes to trying to make that space for yourself to create. And then the last one that I listed on the blog post is that overthinking kills creativity. So act now. And this relates a little bit to the refusing to self criticize, but this one is really just about acting, literally just taking action. And that's something that, again, is hard to do, because you finish out your you finish out your day, right? You're finished with school, you're finished with your studying, your classes, etc., and you're just exhausted, and you're like, I just want to rest. And for sure, your creative outlet should be restful, it should be enjoyable, but it also means like taking some sort of action, as opposed to just like passively, watching something or relaxing. And that time is important too, don't get me wrong, or reading something, absolutely important. But I think sometimes we overthink, and we're like, okay, I have to like do this and this and this in order to do, to be creative today, in order to, make that time for myself. And sometimes we just like to procrastinate and say, okay, I'm working on the details of this before I can actually do this. So for me, I'll give you an example. So for me, sometimes it'll be like, okay, I have to find like the background music, the instrumental for this song that I want to, record to, that I want to sing along to. I have to make sure my hair looks good. I have to make sure I know the lyrics. Well, that's important actually. I should know the lyrics. I should just pull them up, right? I have to make sure I do a warm up, da da da. And I mean, all those things are important. I should always, 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 always try to warm up. Singers, vocalists, definitely warm up. Okay, before you sing, even if it's just a little bit, just do a little warm up. Okay, but at the same time, I think sometimes I use all that, like all those little details, to kind of say, okay, maybe not today, because I don't feel like doing all that stuff. I don't feel like having to, do my little setup with my ring light. Da, da, da. I mean, my ring light is literally on my desk. Like, it's not even a full ring light. It's one of the ones that you just clip to the edge of your desk. So it's literally already there. It does not take any work. But sometimes in our minds, we build things up and we overthink, instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to create. I'm going to make something that I love to make, put my creative gifts to work, and just do it. And so I think that's something that it's a mindset shift that we can definitely make as students who are also creatives. When you're trying to make that time to be creative at whatever point in your day and your week, don't overthink it. Just do it. Just just go for it. You know? Um lay out in your mind, okay, what do I want to do? What am I working towards right now? Okay, I'm going to sing this song. I'm going to work on this song for a little bit and just sing it. Like I literally have to just like put my phone up, turn on my camera and just start singing. My turn on start the video and just start singing. Or even if I'm not trying to record it, I'm just doing it for my, just to enjoy it, just to work on it for myself and just go for it. And so sometimes we really do let overthinking kill that, creative spirit that we have and that creative drive. And it's like, no need to do that. No need to do that. Walk in wisdom, of course. Speaking from the perspective as a child of God, as a Christian, walk by the Spirit of God. And don't do anything rash per se, but sometimes we let our fear, we disguise our fear of maybe not being perfect. We let that turn into procrastination and excuses. Meanwhile, God's like, I already gave you the gift. Use it. Put it to work. And so, anyway, that's all I have for this episode is those 3 mindset shifts that I hope will help. I really hope those 3 mindset shifts will help when it comes to just trying to make that space to create, because it's not easy, right? It's not easy all the time, but it's so important. It's so beautiful when we do it, and we're able to smile because we know that we've put in the hard work that we need to put in for school, and we're continuing to put in that hard work, but we're also enjoying the beautiful gifts that God has given us and using them, right? And so that's good. At the end of the day, we can be grateful for that at least, right? So I hope that helps. I hope that those 3 little tips, again, you can go to creativelybyestelle.com/blog and scroll down to that post from April 16th of this year if you want to read through that. But I kind of gave an overview of those points. So the first one is to refuse to self-criticize. Okay. The second one is to create more than you consume. And then the third one is that overthinking kills creativity. So just act now. Right. So I hope those 3 mindset shifts help when it comes to trying to make that time for you to be creative as a student, as a medical student. It is hard, but we can do it. Okay. We can do it. All right. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening, for being here. Thank you for being willing to create. I hope any of these tips helped. Let me know if they did. Okay. You can find me on Instagram at Estelle Avberry, or at TikTok at Estelle Avberry _, or you can email me at estelleavberry@gmail.com. All that information is in my Instagram. You can even message me on Facebook, I guess, at Estelle Avberry. So I'm at my name pretty much everywhere. Let me know what you thought about it, okay? And I'm just so glad that you're here. If you are still looking for creative inspiration, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I'm trying to always inspire other students to be creative, to make that time to use their gifts. And so yeah, follow me there. Let's continue to hang out. Let's continue to communicate. Let's continue to encourage each other. Okay. Let's make this a beautiful community of students who are also creatives. Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for being here. I hope you have a great, great day. See ya. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode. Real quick before you go, there is a Facebook page that I made called the Creatively Community, and I'd love for you to search that on Facebook and go ahead and like it, because I'm going to continue to post some content there, and we're going to make that into a group so we can keep building community, okay? So thanks so much again, and I'll see you next week.